his quote unquote signature weapon that he came out with was so bad that basically no one uses it. It's called Vortex Vanquisher. So the 5-star weapon everyone uses for him is Staff of Homa. But if you basically put that on him, it boosts his HP, which means he has a better shield. But it's like a whale thing to do. Most people use a 4-star weapon on him. And what I use is called Favonius Lance. It's one of like the really, basically everyone will get a Favonius Lance at some point. And that's a 4-star weapon.
What we're doing right now is we're gonna have a little chat about the best way to experience this game. So I've been playing this game now for, I don't know, let's go with 6 weeks, and there have been a lot of questions. Dragon Daddy Bear has been trying to guide me down the primrose path of understanding all these things, but every time he uses another phrase that I don't understand, I feel a little sad about myself, because I should be able to understand these things by now. Girk has stepped in and he's tried to explain some stuff, especially from the streamer side of things, where, you know, he kind of introduced me to the Twitch program, to the Hoyo Labs app, all that kind of stuff on the back end. And then I realized that he's actually a beast in this game, as he is a beast in every game he plays. So it's what we're gonna do. I'm not gonna talk much. I am the host, okay? All I am is the host. I'm just a lowly peon to be taught by these amazing people, and we're just going to jump into it. The plan, if you want to, all you have to do is you can just ask questions along the way. We'll pause. If Girk is going to be talking, I'll do this, and then Girk and Steel can show his screen and we can see what's going on. Dragon Daddy Bear is talking, we can do this, and then he can show his stuff that's going on. Because we tried, they're like, you know, we're going to send you some pics and you can work your way through. And then they're like, when we get to the blah, blah, blah pic, you can pull up. And I'm like, I don't even know what that word is. You can pull up your own pics. So there we go. This is the screen that we're starting with. So let's tell you what, guys, let's just start with some introductions. I'm going to start with, we'll start with Gherkensteel, oh, my good friend, who, by the way, is an amazing minister unto himself. He works for Satellite Gaming. He's got an amazing ministry there. He's elite, literally elite at some games, and he turned his attention to us today. Thank you very much, Justin. I appreciate that. Can you tell us a little bit about your experience with Genshin? You know, are you hardcore, or are you just good at it? How long have you been playing? I don't know what the word whale means, but are you one? You know, what do you do? What's your interest? Do you stream? What's going on here? Who are you? I've never met you. Pretend I've never met you before, and you have to impress me not only with who you are, but also with your Genshin. So go for that.
Yeah, thank you for the brief introduction. I'm
world's
Justin.
Worst introduction.
I'm Justin, also Gherkensteel online. I am a missionary at Satellite Gaming. I point students to Jesus Christ by building relationships through video games. And about 2 years ago, I was going to a summer camp, and I found myself in a cabin with a bunch of kids that just like only watched anime and played anime games, and I wasn't that guy. I was competitive with League of Legends. I'm in the top like 0.3% in the world. And I like normal TV, I liked Marvel and all that fun stuff. And oh, what was that?
Sorry, I'm gasping at the fact that you like Marvel. Thought you were
yeah, and so all these kids were talking about stuff I had no idea about. Like, they were all wearing shirts like this. This was a gift from a student, and I was like, I just didn't get it. And they challenged me to watch, all of the animes in 1 year, and I did.
All of them?
One of the things all of the ones on a list. They gave me a big list, and that was one of those things where I just had to get over a prejudice with anime, and I did, and now I love it. And one of those things was starting to play Genshin, and it was my first gacha game. It was my first like anime-ish game,
right?
And I fell in love. If I had to, say if I was hardcore or casual or whatever, I think I'm actually pretty casual on the game. Like, I definitely do the meta things. But like, I have students grind the stuff I don't want to grind, right? Like I don't do stuff on this game that I don't want to do. So for example, the events, when it's an event that's not like this one right now, the Warrior Spirit's sweet. But if it's like a boring event, like just not a good event where it's just a bunch of mini games, I have students that will just log into my account and they'll just do the whole event for me because I don't want to spend the time doing stuff I don't want to do, which is why I'm not burnt out on the game. I have friends that are burnt out because they do everything.
And I can feel that, like myself, that like I played it and I was hardcore into it. I'm like, I'm so excited because I got to get in and do my dailies and I got to go fight this and I want to see the next level. And I found that basically like a couple days ago, I'm sitting there like that fervor to jump back in wasn't quite as strong because now the game is starting to get a bit more grindy. This is Genshin only, and that's all we're doing for the next 2 hours. Nurse Nerd, yes, it's literally going to be only Genshin all the time.
Lots of Genshin.
Until one of us throws up actual Genshin colors.
Yeah, so
we're going to stop.
I luckily get to play Genshin like as a part of my job, right? In our ministry we have factions, and Genshin's one of our factions that students are super involved with, and so I get to talk about it like every day, and I get to play it with kids every day. And so for me, it's more than just like a hobby. It's more of like a medium to interact with people, which is funny because it's like a single player game, right? But it's a single player game that like feels like an MMO when it's not an MMO,
right?
Like, at all.
I literally thought it was an MMO, and I'm like, where's everybody else? When I
the whole community,
where's all the people?
It feels like an MMO, but it's not an MMO. It's a co-op game that you never do co-op in, which is just hilarious. But like I played the game for 2 years now. I don't know how many hours, probably too many hours. And I am technically considered a whale. It's a little of a reluctant title because all of my original whaling was like donation whaling. So like I had friends that just wanted to see me gamble on the game, and so they gave me a lot of money to gamble on the game. So I didn't start off as a whale, but my friends kind of groomed me into it as someone who had never played a gacha game before, which we'll explain what a gacha game is later. But basically, they were like, here's $2,000, do some polls. And I'm like, oh, that sounds great. Thank you. So
money?
I did.
Like, of money?
Yes.
Real that seems like a lot of Genshin.
People live vicariously through others.
That's true.
Something I learned through Genshin.
I've been playing about a year and a half, and I've spent, I shouldn't say only, I spent about 300 on it so far. But that includes all the welcome passes and moons and battle passes. What's funny is
I feel like people flex more on how little they spend on the game, or if they don't spend any money, which we'll probably talk about later.
No kidding, right? I haven't spent a dime. All I've done is commit my entire life to it.
I think the last thing I'll mention is just like the reason. I'll mention that my mains and then what I like about the game. I think the game is insanely pretty. And it's huge, and I just like looking at the world.
So
like
pretty.
the blades of grass, right? Like they're all individually animated. The characters are all 3D models, but the world is like a 2D like anime art. Like I've watched videos on how the game was created, and like there's a reason it looks the way it does. And the fact that it looks like this on mobile and PC and console, and it's a consistent experience among the three. It's coming to Switch. It should be.
That's what they tell me.
But like there's just no game that I feel like has this level of quality control with no bugs, with patches that don't break the game, with no queue times to get in, while being one of the most played games on the planet.
Totally.
Like
you're absolutely right.
It's a technical marvel, and as someone that's obsessed with graphical fidelity,
exactly, Empress.
This game does its art style perfectly.
It's so consistent and so and that's the thing about anime characters is that you can be like they all kind of look the same, and there's sort of a model kind of system for them, but truly I am always impressed with whatever the next weapon or the next boss or the next next character is. It's always very beautiful. And actually what's interesting about the Hoyo Labs app that I have is when they do an event, like they're always talking about another event. They just did the lights whatever lanterns event. And it was connected to like a ton of like fan art and like a little kind of like a little tiny game where you're playing with lights and you're playing with like shadow boxes. It wasn't like connected to the game. Like, well, sure, you got some Primo Gems or whatever while you were doing it, but it was just like, aren't we pretty? Look how pretty we are. Let's do some more pretty things.
They'll pay you for that artwork too.
That's crazy.
Yeah. Well, so Genshin is more than just So Lantern Rite isn't just a regular event, though. Lantern Rite's special. Like, Lantern Rite's really, really theatric and big and a big production because, for those that don't know, Hoyoverse is a Chinese company. This is a Chinese game. We're going
to switch to Dragon Daddy Bear. You can do your little talk and then introduce yourself. Go for it, bud.
Sure. Sorry. Yeah, I guess I'll hop on your and just say, like, the Lantern Rite's a special event in that it's the big one, right? It's the really big one because it ties in Chinese New Year, which is why you're getting free intertwined fates.
I don't know why I didn't put that together.
Because I'd say you're not American, you're Canadian. I mean, you're wearing flannel. Look at it,
dude. It's red.
Can't be any more Canadian. You know what? You automatically have to pull Kazuha.
This is actually a cup of warm maple syrup.
But fun fact, you 100% have to pull Kazuha when he shows up. They call him a Canadian. Call him Canadian because his symbol is the maple leaf.
Yes, gimme.
I never realized that. That shows how American I am.
So, like, he's one of the best characters in the game, and we'll kind of get into some of that a little bit later with some of the questions. So yeah, I'll talk to you about myself. You want to pull up my Enka network there, Christian, and just kind of people can, or just post my link there and people can see it. So yeah, I'm Dragon Daddy Bear. I've been playing this game, like I said, a year and a half. I absolutely love the game. It's really the only game I play right now. Mostly because I'm an adult. I have a day job. I take PTO for this. So, you know, I'm a dad of 2 kids, and we stream together. My girls stream with me. Their computers are over here off because, you know, they're out doing homeschool and whatever else they do during the day with the wife. But I'm actually by trade an information security professional. So, if you have questions about that, you could always ask me as well.
So you're on the computer anyway.
Yeah, right.
I'm here anyway.
So I would consider myself, I wouldn't say I'm quite hardcore, but I'm up there, right? Like, because this is the only game I play, I really invest myself into it.
I'm sharing your Enka right now in chat. So if anybody wants to go and check it out.
And you can kind of see my showcase. It just allows you to, for those that don't know, Enka Network, I have some links here I'll share that are in our thing. I'll just get down to here. There's some useful links. I'm going to post these in chat for you all. Enka Network is, and that failed miserably because the hyperlinks.
Yeah, no, you get blocked everything. You're not allowed to do anything on my stream, period. Too bad.
Well,
yeah, I tried to paste my link and it didn't work.
Yep.
Well, the links work, but you can't post a hyperlink, so I'll have to get the URLs later. And while Justin's talking, Gherkin Steel. But I would consider myself a kind of whale. Like, I buy the battle pass and stuff. Let me show you what that is. So this is the battle pass, and it costs $10. Yeah, so as you complete things, so the battle pass is a really nice way to, like, kind of figure out how you're supposed to play the game. It's a really good guide of, like, what should you do every day, what should you do every week, and what should you do every patch, right?
Right.
Like, if you do these every day and then do these every week, it gives you the battle points and you level up. The reason why I spend the money on it and think it's worth the $10 is not for the weapons, which the weapons, if you purchase the $10 pass, you get one of these 5 once you hit level 30 and the battle pass, which is pretty easy to do. But it's also quadruples your total rewards, right? So it allows me to level up all my characters.
Yeah, far out.
I'm not a person who plays elite level. I do all the end game stuff and Spiral Abyss, but my style, my claim to fame is really that I have all but one 5-star character. I don't have Layla, 4-star character, excuse me, and all but 5 stars between me and my daughters. And
it's all random pulls, right? Like, these are things that it's not like you can go buy them.
No,
well, I buy them.
You can buy them, like, straight up?
You can guarantee them. So yes. These 5 stars, you can guarantee them enough if you pay for them. The other thing you can get is the Blessing of the Welkin Moon. And this is, so 300 Genesis crystals is what you get if you spend $5. So if you buy this, you get the 300 Genesis crystals anyways, plus you get 90 Primo gems every day. We'll go into those later. but it basically doubles your daily primo gem count for just logging in, just by logging in and doing your dailies. And it allows you to get nearly twice as many pulls, 50% more. Actually, if you do all the events, it's like 50% more pulls. So
it's that's
nice.
really interesting.
Yeah. So if this is a game you're really into, and I think it's okay, right? People spend $15 a month on WoW. It's really up to you, right? I feel like supporting the developers, I get my value out of it. I'd say I've gotten $300 worth of fun out of this. I can't say I've gotten $300 worth of fun out of the movies I've gone to in the movie theaters in the last few years. So in terms of value, I think it's pretty high.
You make a good point. I mean, that's a valid point, right? That
amortize your costs, right? Like,
yeah.
How many games have you bought? I've bought in like 3 or 4 games throughout the course of the year. So I don't buy many games.
Yeah, I don't buy games either.
But yeah, I absolutely love the game. The one last thing I'll note on why I play the game, what really gets me into it. Oh shoot, got my mute. Is if you look at the world, right? So I've unlocked everything to this point, and the map gets really big. But what's really cool about this world is if you look, like Mondstadt is all based off of Germanic culture and lore. Liyue is all based off of China. Inazuma is all based off of Japan. And this area is based off the Middle East. And the lore ties together. Even things like the Staff of Homa, there's a reason why they chose the Staff of Homa, and why it's called the Staff of Homa, and why it looks the way it looks, and why Hu Tao has it.
I love stuff like that. When you realize that they've done the work and they've looked into it and they've really spent a bunch of time going, I want this to be more meaningful than just a name we came up with that was cool, and you start being able to mine down into it. That's really neat. It shows a level of passion for the project, right?
Yeah. So yeah, that's what I like about the game. I think it's just a beautiful game. It's so well done. The detail, right? It's really the detail in the world building. The storyline's good, but the world building is world class.
I still haven't quite gotten to all the story stuff. I know for me that I'm still lower leveled, and so there's been some barriers to getting to the next part of the story, and so now I can start up the story again next week. So I'll tell you what, you guys want to jump into the actual Q&A stuff? And by the way, if anybody's listening in chat right now and you want to ask a question, by all means, ask a question at random, whatever you want. We're going to talk about a lot of different topics, so we might catch your question along the way.
I want to see Dragon Daddy Bear's best character first, though. I'll show off something. Because you said you're a Hu Tao main.
Do some flexing now. We're going to see some flexing here.
You said you're a Hu Tao main. I don't even have Hu Tao, so I want to see.
So I just switched out my weapon. So I pulled, I did whale. I did buy $100 worth of stuff. And I got the Staff of Homa, and it's not fully leveled up. But my artifacts, her stats are pretty bonkers. I actually have to lower her crit rate when I go into the Spiral Abyss because I get over crit with the bonuses and buffs. Yeah. I can end up with a net 100% if you'd like. My other really good character is my Wanderer. The only thing he's missing is a good crit piece. Yeah, so the Wanderer is a really fun character. First male catalyst. I have his signature weapon as well. It's fully up, and then his artifact, his attributes, right? Also pretty good. I see that, Empress. Hold on one sec. Artifacts there. This is what's holding him back. It doesn't have a great this is a terrible artifact in terms of substats.
You actually have a decent artifact set from his set? You're so lucky. Oh my gosh.
Lucky? Dude,
I've gotten nothing from that domain at all.
Okay, you just triggered Dragon Daddy Bear. That's it. I feel a raid coming on. Let's go.
No, that domain's only been out for like 3 weeks or like a month. It's new.
Who is it? It's Toma, sorry. I've been building a Burgeon set for Toma out of that domain as well. And this is all I've gotten for I haven't even gotten a 5-star artifact here for this. I can't even complete a full set. Yeah, it's bad. Unlucky. I've spent thousands of resin in there. We'll talk about resin here in a little bit.
Fantastic. Okay, so
those are my 2 big ones. Let's see Gherkin Shield. Let's have him show off his
Let's answer Empress's question first.
Yeah. I'll start with it. At least it's a streaming question that I can sort of contribute to. The question is, how do you balance being entertaining while playing Genshin Impact? Because there are some parts that get pretty grindy. And my answer to that question is I don't grind on stream. So what I do is I do the story quests, I do the the everything to do with narrative stuff. I do that when I'm on stream. I let people see it, we talk about it, we hear all the voices. And then when it comes to for me anyway, so far, when it comes to the time where I gotta get more levels, I gotta get more AR, I gotta do something in order to be able to continue the story, I'll do that off screen. So that's, sometimes on Sunday I'll spend 4 hours just building so that I can make sure that next Thursday or next week, if I load this thing up, I can do narrative. My stream, I've always promised, I've said this to everybody, when I play a game, it'll be because it leads to conversation or allows for conversation, because that's what I'm here for, is the conversation, right? So Girk, how do you do it?
Yeah, so I ran into a problem where I overgrinded it and it got boring originally. And then I learned something from the developers on how they made the game and why it's the way it is. The Chinese developers made the game obviously for the Chinese audience. They know that about 80% of their audience or so are people that have, at least part of Chinese culture, very little time in their day to play a game. That's why it's like a huge mobile game. So like they expect you to play this on your 20-minute bus ride, right? On your commute, or on like lunch breaks and things. So that when you go home, you usually wouldn't have a lot of time to play the game. And so they made the game to be a bite-sized chunk kind of game where like you can do all your dailies in less than 20 minutes. You're supposed to play the game for the like a little bit of time that you have each day. It's not. I'm looking forward to sit on for hours.
I'm looking forward to when we get to that dailies thing, because when you said that you can do it in 20 minutes, I'm like, when I sit down on Sunday and I do the ley lines, that's like 3 hours, right? So that's obviously that must not be the dailies, right? That's something else. So I'm looking forward to hearing
the dailies. Dailies are what I'm doing on screen right now. Dailies are what I'm doing, which are these little purple icons that you see on here.
Right.
Also, it's normal for things to take longer when you first start off, because our characters are crack and built and just, we spent a lot of time on them, right? But these little purple dots are the dailies.
Okay. All right. That's neat.
But to expand on Gherkinsteel, like the game almost punishes you for playing more. Like you can't spend, unless you're doing questing, you can't spend more than like an hour or two on the game if you wanted to. You couldn't if you wanted to. It doesn't work. There's nothing to do. You run out of resin. You run out of things to go find and farm. For me, what I do to keep entertaining is I actually stream with my kids. My daughters are here with me, and we're always working on their characters and grinding. But the grind is the fun part with us, right? We're all working together, and we'll do silly things like use all chibis, or we'll use all one type of party or whatever, right? Like that's how we keep it entertaining and fresh and fun.
Fresh, funky, and fun.
Yeah, they
50 and
golly gee.
How do you get adventuring? So how is that possible?
Yeah, I was about to say that too.
Friendship level, maybe.
Last thing I'll say on the entertaining part is Hoyoverse has come out and said they want the game to not cause anxiety, which is funny considering it's a gacha game. But they don't want it to be like an anxiety-provoking game, and they want it to be fairly chill. And to illustrate that point, I don't know if any of you guys like watch or play League of Legends, but during the World Finals, the underdog team, which ended up in the finals, in between the games, the best of 5 they had to play to win Worlds against the best people on the planet that have won before, were playing Genshin and doing their dailies on their phones
to chill
Worlds, and then they won Worlds. So
that's
like
fantastic.
The game is designed for those people.
Okay,
right?
so this leads naturally
to
our first question then, Gherkinsteel, and the question is, you just said this is a surprise because hey, it's a gacha game. What do you mean by that?
Yeah, so at its core, gacha comes from, I think it's in China where it started. It's a machine that they would have at like malls. And it's called like a gacha machine, and you like put in your quarter and it spits out like an egg or something, and then you get like a random like collectible inside. Okay. So that translated over to gaming with
I thought it was got you, as in they once you get the little fingers into you, they've got you. I literally thought that's what
it's also that.
Okay.
So it translated over to like mobile gaming originally, and Genshin was the first like AAA game to really add it. But like essentially a hallmark of a gacha game is you can either trade your time or your money for progress. in certain areas. In Genshin, if you're like a Daddy Bear, you can 100% the game and get all of your Primo gems, spend your 1,000 hours, and you can, potentially get all the characters. If you want to, you can get all the characters by never doing a world quest and never grinding Primos and just swiping your credit card. There's a balance. Yeah. Would you rather spend 5 hours to get a character, or would you rather go to work for an hour, play the game for an hour, and buy a character? It really just depends. And gacha games give you that option, but they also can prey on you with FOMO tactics where if I don't get this character this week, I have to spend because I'll never get them again.
Right.
And that's the
but
kind of
you're not
dark
paralyzed if you don't get that character.
Right.
Like it's not like you can't go forward until you give them $6.
Yeah, Genshin has no 100% guaranteed characters. There's nothing in Genshin that like you have to have a specific character to complete the game. During the end game maybe, but not the actual like storyline and quests. You will have whatever you need, and they will give you a character that will do what you need for free throughout the course of the game.
Okay, well then let me ask you this question. If this is your non-standard gacha game, and usually what they do is they make it so that you get the FOMO, and you gotta give them the money, and you gotta give them the time to keep playing, and this one is kind of the opposite of that, then what keeps you playing Genshin? Like, how is it not kind of worn off, and especially since you take it in such tiny chunks? Hi, Miss Defaults, good to see you.
Well, one of the things I think that they do that makes it nice is that they're always adding content, right? It's constantly growing. They're constantly adding new content. They're adding to the world, adding side quests, adding story quests. So people like me get to stay interested. I can't play as much as I used to now that I wiped out all the content because I just went really hardcore in the game, like every chance I could, playing on my phone upstairs while the kids watch TV or whatever. But it's always staying fresh because of the events. They're also changing up the events. They have a few copycats they've reused, but for the most part, it's newish stuff or tweaks in the old one. Or they'll do fun ones like Wind Trace, which is a hide and seek game
I've seen a few of those. I never really knew what it was, and there were some people in the community that were like, man, I never want to carry another balloon as long as I live, right? And I'm like, I don't know what that meant, but apparently there was an event where you had to carry a balloon from one place to another without it popping, and they were like, that was too hard. But that's just kind of a fun thing that they add into it.
I personally don't like any of those events, and so I have other people do them. I like combat events, but for me, it's all community.
Combat ones are fun.
I just like talking about the game, hearing other people talk about it, looking at leaks, which I don't ever do. Never looked at leaks, but talking about leaks is fun. And just hearing people get excited about their favorite characters, watching them do cool builds and attempt things, and like that's where I get most of the fun. So like for me, I like when new characters come out because that's like a new experience in the game now that I get to.
For sure. Are they that different though? Like really, that's the thing. Like it's because you go look, this one swings a spear and that one swings a spear and this one swings a spear and that one swings a spear.
Hoyo is different. Hoyo has gone on record to say that their characters are the content.
Oh, far out. That's kind of cool.
So,
by the way, I just gave you both VIP, so theoretically you should be able to post links now. I think.
I'll give
it
a try.
I'll make you mods, and after that, I'll make you gods. There you go. Okay, we good. There you
go. I want to show. I guess I can explain like differences of characters while showing the characters that I actually have built well. This guy's name is Kamisato Ayato. I accidentally got a good version of him farming who I thought was my main and my favorite character, and then I just never got a good artifact for him. But I accidentally got perfect artifacts for this guy.
Okay, so let me back up. Just to remind you that if there's some people that are listening and they don't know all the jargon, could you just back up and explain just for a second what you mean? Like, for example, you said, I just got this character really cool, but you didn't get the good one. I don't know what that meant.
Yes. So
I get
one of the questions.
Yeah.
One of the questions, Justin, is how do you know what to build on a character? What makes something? How do you learn what's good for him?
Yeah. So I actually have a website. So for Ayato, for example, when I pulled him, I typed in Google, and I think you guys can see this Ayato build.
Is that your website, Google?
So I use Google. I type in the character and build. The first website that usually pops up is called game8.com.
Okay,
it comes up
scroll
with
up, my dude. We need it to be zoomed in. It's very, very wide. There we go. Good boy.
So it comes up with this Genshin guide.
Okay.
And so when you scroll down, it'll tell you like their ratings. So Iato, they say, is an SS Hydro sword user. Cool. And it'll tell you why it's ranked that way. So exploration's a C, sub DPS, main DPS, basically meaning like, do you have to sit, if a main DPS is someone that you need to like be actively using, right? So they sit on the field. They're like the main character you're
And
seeing.
DPS stands for?
Damage per second. It's basically like your damage dealer, or who's like doing the hits.
One who's going to hit hardest and fastest.
Yeah, so
yes. Sub DPS is like an off-field character, so they'll have something actively in the background happening.
That's Robin to Batman. Okay.
They won't be like.
We'll get into that later on the build, on the how to build a team. We'll talk about that a little bit later.
But this website will tell you like the strengths of the character, the weaknesses of them, their best weapons in order. So like this says that Haran is his best weapon, but like if you don't have that, these are good options. Tells you the artifacts you want to build, which I can show you in a second. Where these are
based on his role, no less too. Like if he's going to be a normal attack main DPS, they'll give you a build for that, like there. But if you look underneath Hydro main DPS, there he might have different recommendations for his artifacts.
Oh, interesting. So I was trying to artifacts for some reason. They absolutely fascinate me, and I love messing with them. Could be the fact that they're math and that they're pretty and they spin and whatever. But whatever. It's like me with a mobile, like a little baby's looking at a mobile. But I was messing with the stats, so I went and looked for Amber because that's my favorite character right now, and I'm like, what does she need from the artifacts in order to be powerful, in order to be good? Like, what do I need to give her? And all the stuff that I read about said, well, she, what you want to give her is crit rate. Go find things that have lots of crit rate. And then I went to the to Razor, who's my second favorite character because he's so freaking powerful. And like, what does he need? Well, it would be best if he was able to charge up his super attack really, really fast. So give him a lot of elemental, boosts. And then as I did that, it was noticeable, even at my tiny little level of not having very good, I'm only at AR 25 and I haven't exactly got the best artifacts yet. But I know it was a noticeable difference because I went and looked it up and gave them what I thought, for the way I play anyway, would give them the most bang for their buck.
Yeah, so artifacts, don't worry about sets or anything yet until you hit like AR 40 or 45, and we'll talk about that a little bit later. But in terms of like building, how do you know what to build? How you know is looking at their talents, right? So what makes a character play different is their talents, right? I'll give you an example, like here, and you go to the guides like he had, right? But if you don't have a guide or you just want to know what to put on without looking it up, you can check here, right? You can see that this is based on attack because there's no like numbers. It's just percentage of her attack, right? So if she has 1,000 attack, her first hit will do 39.1% of her damage of that, right?
Oh, okay. All right.
Right. And then here with this one, right? And then same with this one, and it'll tell you how many it does and how long it lasts and how much energy it needs. So when you see stats like, oh, they need a lot of energy recharge, right? So let's look at Gillan. Gillan is the reason why I spent $100. I wanted her C1 because it allows her to use this skill twice. The reason why is look at the cooldown on it. It's 10 seconds and she needs energy and her burst costs 70. So the more times you use your E, the more you can use your burst, right? And so the more you can use that, the better. But for her, she scales off of HP. Both her burst, you can see here, based on her HP. See this? Based on her HP. You see this? Her normal attacks are based on attack. But her special charge shot is based off of HP. So
when you did the artifacts for her,
what this means for her is dump HP on her, right? And we'll talk about building specifically later and what the ADC and all that means. But for her, you want to build HP, and you don't want to use her as a main damage dealer. You don't want her being on the field because her attacks are going to be weak sauce if you give her HP, so her skills do damage. So
thank you for the follow, Dragon Ball.
Do damage, and she'll be doing damage off of off the field because her burst throws rain swords like Xingqiu. Just every time you normal attack, it fires. So you could be on a different character and she can do damage.
So you can build a character based on really how you want to play. Like for example, for me, I'm a big chicken who likes to be far away and start by shooting dudes in the face with Amber, right? And so therefore, if I'm going to be the shoot dudes in the face with Amber guy, then I should build that first shot, whatever my first volley is, to be powerful, right? Is that's That's my and but
Well,
if that's not how I'm going to do things, then I shouldn't build it that way.
I'll show you something here real quick. Let me switch out my teams and what I mean by why I'm kind of like, well, it depends, right? Let me get to my melt team here, and I'll throw in Amber.
Your what
so
team?
You can kind of see the difference. Melt.
I thought you said MILF.
So, MILF.
Your MILF team? Your what?
Wow.
Where's your head at, man?
Ganyu is on that
you're
team,
covering
though.
the name. Are you
You got
She's young.
tactical
Okay,
Duke
maybe
Ganyu here.
Yolande, maybe Jean, they're old enough, but she's a little on the young side, all right? Where in the world is Amber? She's down here. She's one of my few unbuilts.
I use those websites, though, for all my builds, or there's a lot of popular YouTubers like I Win to Lose Gaming that have very comprehensive guides on every single character, and will tell you like what artifacts you should farm and what stats you should look for on each one of those artifacts. It's been very helpful so that I don't have to, like you mathing out just now in the attributes thingy on their talents. I've like literally never looked at that ever.
Yeah, you don't
I didn't even know that was there.
So the question of how do you know what to build,
Says the guy
that's
with,
how you know what to put on
90
them.
characters.
What you use on them and what artifact sets and how much of what distribution of the need.
Right.
That's where you go to the build sites and it tells you, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, right, you can look at it and that tells you what, but people like Jeff, I Win to Lose Gaming, Braxophone, Sevi Plays, there's all these great build guides out there. Now, I want to show you what you're talking about, and this is going to kind of get into elemental reactions a little bit, Christian, is look at Amber, right? Her charge attack, I shoot, and it fires. It fires too because I have C1, but, that's what it does. And it takes a long time to shoot.
It does.
And if you look, she doesn't do a lot of damage. Her skill set is not that. But you get to Ganyu, see how it does that little explosion thing?
Yeah.
So Ganyu, if you want to do a charge attack, if that's your style, you want to get a character that works in that style.
Okay.
Right?
Then let me because I need to defend my girl. Let me ask you, what's Amber good at? Like, what if you were to use her? Then what's her number one thing? Oh, come on.
Yeah, Amber's one of the worst units in the entire game.
Let me explain to you why. Right? Why I say right now nothing. Hold on, calm down. Amber will have a home, and I bet you when we go to Fontaine, she will probably find some more actual use. All right. So to do damage, you want to do elemental reactions, right? And Amber's is fire, and so you want to put water or cryo on somebody, right? You mix water and fire, and it melts or vaporizes or whatever, right? It does. There's a reaction there. It does something. The problem is, how do you apply those elements and then charge shot with Amber? Right now, there's no good way.
I've actually struggled with that. That's actually the thing.
Right.
Like I'll take the crowd, dude, and I'll freeze someone, and then when I want to lay off some fire, it's like pow.
Right, and you get one hit and it's done.
Yeah.
So watch this. Goba, go, and then Ganyu, drop that, and while he's breathing fire, I can fire my shots. There's no alternative like that for Amber right now.
Right.
So even though Amber, even with this, she can, I don't know if she can double vape, but she can, even though she has a decent charge shot now, she can't really do a lot of damage because there's no one that can apply cryo off field other than, let's say, Rosaria. You could.
So we're gonna get that with team building, right? We're gonna get to that question when we start. Okay, so let me reel it back.
Amber's so useless. There's no reactions for her. There's nothing for her. Though there is one team where she's useful. There is one team she's actually used it.
All right. What's that?
And that's a Hu Tao team. We'll get into that later. Remind me to talk about that a little bit later.
All right. Okay. So let me back up to where our script is now, because we went off the deep end with some things we want to cover later. And just a reminder to anybody who's watching right now, if you do have a question, you want to stop, you want to jump in with something, by all means do.
Mm-hmm.
We don't want to kill chat, but at the same time, we know that we're going to be, yammering on, and I'll do my best to ask decent questions. But if you got something, by all means ask. Let me back up the whole conversation to more basic stuff, as in like really entry level questions. And the question that I have for you is this, Justin. When you think of wishes and you go through like this wishes thing, how do you process wishes? What's the best way you do it? When you look at it, like, and can you explain the wishes section? Because to me, in my mind, I look at it and I see 4 things, and then when I look for what wishes I have, I'm like, well, I have 6 on this one, but I have 0 on that one, and I have 1 on that one. And then I look in the bottom corner and it's got some kind of fate thing. I don't even know what fate is, right? So can you help me understand this wish screen?
Yeah, so wishes were the thing that made me waste a lot of money when I started playing because I did not understand them at all. So I'll start off with the most basic thing. You have currencies. You see them in the top right.
Yep.
The one on the left is called Primo Gems, which you earn for everything you do in the game, essentially. Opening chests and doing quests and solving puzzles. You get these Primo Gems. Now, this is part of how gacha games work. They want a lot of currencies to confuse you on how much things worth.
Mission accomplished.
So you can get Primo Gems from free stuff, right?
It's not a bug, it's a feature.
Yeah, so in your shop, they have this thing called Genesis crystals.
Yeah.
These crystals serve the purpose of being converted into Primo Gems, essentially. So if I buy a bunch of Genesis crystals, I can go up to here, and I can convert Genesis crystals into Primo Gems.
Okay.
You can use these for, like, buying character outfits. That's, like, I guess one thing you can use them for. But other than that, they basically have no purpose. Once they're Primo Gems, you can do another conversion, which is Fates. So they have in your Paimon's bargains, you can say purchase the Primo Gems, and 160 Primos is one Fate. And then you get conflated with, oh, do I want blue or purple ones?
Justin, can you slide your face off to the off to the side so that we can kind of see underneath?
Yes, let me
move your face. Oh, you didn't? You need to make a group in OBS, my friend. Then you can do it all at once.
Yeah, I do. Okay.
All right, there you go. Yeah.
So you got these purple ones and these blue ones.
Right.
I didn't know there was a difference at first, which is why I wasted money. Purple ones, the intertwined, is whatever the limited 5-star banner is, which I'll show in a second. The blue one is just the standard banner that never changes. It's the same set of characters that you can pull every single time. So this is the standard banner. It's called Wanderlust Invocation.
And it changes every...
This one never changes. So this one has been the same since the game came out. If you click on details...
What's the same 5 people all the time?
So you can go to list of items, and it's the same 5 stars. You got Tignari, Kaching, Mona, Chi-Chi, Diluc, and Jean.
Okay.
But then they did add Tignari in version 3.0. He's new. So they did modify it a little bit.
Yes, that's because they needed to have one 5-star for each element available. And then they have a bunch of 5-star weapons, and then all of the 4-stars in the game get added like a patch after they come out to that banner. So you can get every 4-star pretty much
through there.
Aside from special weapons, which are in here. So that's this banner. That's only blue fates. So you can't spend purple fates here, and you can't spend blue fates here.
Are they all characters that you could get if you do the story? Or are some of them just ones you can't get unless you wish for them?
So every character in the game you can only get from this gacha system, aside from the original like 5 characters that you earn. So you earn Zhongling from Spiral Abyss, beating floor 3, and then you earn Kaya, Lisa, Amber, and Barbara.
You get Barbara.
You earn them from the campaign. Everyone else is from this.
Well,
get that. Okay.
Zhangling can come from the Spiral Abyss once you get to floor 3, and Kale once you get through the first part of the Archon quest. But you got to go through Inazuma first. So after Inazuma,
I forgot about Kale. So those are the only 3 ones.
About her.
The rest you have to use this gacha system for.
Gotcha. Okay.
Purple fates are what these other 3 are for. Okay. So we'll just look at Yalan's banner. And I can show you an example of this because I saved wishes for the stream. You have this banner, and it shows you the main 5-star character, and then 3 other characters that have a rate up, which essentially means you have a higher chance of pulling these characters than you do the other 4-star options, which are basically... Which is... The other options are anyone on this standard banner. So the only thing that makes this banner unique is you could get Yelan, which is on this one, which is the featured 5-star. The rest of the characters you could pull if you don't get lucky, basically. And you have a 50-50 chance of pulling this character or another 5-star once you hit Pity, which I'll explain.
The 50-50 in Pity is its whole thing. We'll talk 50-50 here in a little bit.
Yeah, so you can either pull Yelan or anyone on this banner, basically.
Okay, right.
So you save these fates to get these characters specifically because that's the only way you can get them. And usually these characters are just better than the ones over here. Like some of these characters are cool and can do cool stuff, but the limited 5-stars are usually a cut above the rest. Because
And that's
they
the one
wanted
that
to
keeps
spend money.
changing.
Yes, so this will rotate in 19 days, and then you'll have to wait another whatever given amount of time. We have no idea for them to come back.
And
Which
the
is
best
where
way to
you
get
get your
the
FOMO
wishes
culture.
is through Primogems? That's just how you get those?
Yes.
Okay.
So you have to earn Primogems through playing, and if you can't, then you can swipe your card to get Primogems, which is what people do if they don't grind the game, basically.
Right. Gotcha.
Or you want,
then,
or you're greedy like me and you want more than you can actually get.
And then the weapon banner is basically the same thing as this, but it's usually the featured 5-star weapon of the other characters on the limited banner, plus an assortment of 4-star weapons that you can only get from over here. And this banner is arguably the worst place you could spend your resources. Because
that's what I was told. Yeah, when I first
win.
started, like anybody who buys off the weapon banner is a ding dong.
The weapon banner is a scam, right?
So here's why.
Yeah, why?
So this banner, you have a 50-50 chance of either pulling Yelan or one of the standard characters, right? And if I lose that 50-50 chance, I'm guaranteed to pull the character I want on the next chance. So like if I pulled, let's just say Jean off this banner, I know my next 5-star will be Yelan, no matter what. I'm guaranteed to get her. After 180 pulls, because 90 is like the maximum pulls you can get without a 5-star to get a character, I will get Yelan. On this banner, they used to not even have a pity system for one. So like Staff of Homa used to be called like Staff of Broke because people went for it and never got it. There's
Can you explain the pity system then?
Yes. So the pity
sounds like
system,
I need to know that.
And they show it to you under details. They show you the drop percentages, but basically after 70 pulls, they have all the probability in here. After 70 pulls, you start getting into the pity, which basically means like we pity you.
70
you haven't
wishes?
pulled it. Yeah, 70 individual wishes. You start getting a percentage increase per pull until you hit 90, and at 90 you're just guaranteed. So if you don't pull something by 90, that's that's called hard pity. That's the worst you could have happened luck wise. And then you'll get, one of the characters. Now, if you lose the 50-50, meaning you don't get the character on the banner, you're guaranteed on the next one. So it's basically, if you're considered lucky on a banner, you pulled them in under 70 pulls. Because that means you just randomly got it and it wasn't a percentage increased chance of getting the character.
Right.
On this banner, it's not a 50-50. So not only do you have to win getting one of these featured 2 weapons, which right now it's Staff of Homa and Aqua Simulacra, you could also lose and get anything on the standard banner. And then you have a percentage chance, I don't know what the exact percentage is, between getting this weapon or this weapon, which is why after a streamer lost thousands of dollars on the banner and complained about it online, they added the epitomized path, which you click down here and you pick which weapon you want. And then this says now, if I were to not get Staff of Homa, because that's what I picked, twice in a row, the third one I get it. So that means the maximum I will pay on this banner is whatever 90 times 3 is. That's how many pulls you have to do to guarantee a Staff of Homa, which means you could get 2 Aquas before you get a Staff of Homa, or you could get, 2 Jeans or whatever.
Like so many.
Well, that's a lot. That's
not
expensive.
Only that, not only that, the weapons are very geared and designed specifically for specific characters.
Are they?
They are usually only the best in slot for 1 or 2 characters. And the other thing is, even if you don't have a 5-star character, even if you have like 5-star characters, you don't need 5-star weapons. I mean, Sevi Plays just did a video walkthrough, and she did her demo that showed you how to beat the Spiral Abyss, but she used only 4 stars with 4-star weapons. That's all she used. It was very reasonable. 5 stars are not necessary at all.
So Zhongli is one of the best supports in the game. Basically, you only use him because he makes his shield so big that you just don't take damage and you can just like AFK play the game. His quote unquote signature weapon that he came out with was so bad that basically no one uses it. It's called Vortex Vanquisher. So the 5-star weapon everyone uses for him is Staff of Homa. But if you basically put that on him, it boosts his HP, which means he has a better shield. But it's like a whale thing to do. Most people use a 4-star weapon on him. And what I use is called Favonius Lance. It's one of like the really, basically everyone will get a Favonius Lance at some point. And that's a 4-star weapon. But even more so than this weapon, people use a 3-star weapon, which like everyone will have. Like I guarantee you already have one. Called Black Tassel, and it's literally just a 3-star weapon that gives you a bunch of HP. And I just ignore what the ability is on it. Like this just says I do more damage to slimes.
Your face is in the way again.
Oh, is it really? I'll just put it on the bottom. It's just a stat stick. So like some characters don't really care what their weapon is. Others do a lot. Other characters care a whole lot about what their weapon is. Zhong Li's not one of them, but he's one of the best characters in the games. Like I have 5-star spears, but he uses a 4-star spear. And that's just because
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
I noticed you have a whole bunch of level 1, spears of the same type, and they're all locked. Like, why haven't you cashed those things in? Why are they locked? Why are they locked?
So I already have an R5 Favonius Lance. So that's why this ability says if I have 100% of my crit hits will give me energy. I can refine like this level 1 Favonius Lance to an R5 from an R1 because I have extras. I just haven't done it because I don't need to. Because I'm not a super whale, I lock all my 4-stars because I don't know when
they're
I'll
locked
need
by
them.
default too. Like when you first pull them, they're automatically locked.
But I have 3 non-4-star spears, and they're on characters, which is why they haven't been gotten rid of yet. Because in order to level this up, I would have to click auto add or whatever, and it will use my resources to level up the weapon, which will eat my other weapons. So you don't want to accidentally eat your 4-star weapons because some of them are like really good. Like Favonius Lance, it's very good. It fixes a lot of problems I have in teams by giving energy.
Okay, all right.
Was
that everything about the wishes? Like, did you cover? I feel like I know a lot more now.
Yeah, and I'll give you an example. People will say 2 different terms. They'll say single pull or 10 pull, which is if you wished 10 at a time or 1 at a time. And so I can just give you an example because I saved wishes for today because I want Yelan. Yelan's crazy. So I just did a 10 pull. And okay, so it flashed purple, which means I'm sad. You're guaranteed. Oh yeah, we didn't explain this. For pity, you're guaranteed a 4-star every 10 pulls. So I will have a 4-star in this. Now, how early it happens in this set of 10 shows how much of the pity I had. I'm pretty much at 0 pity on this banner. So like this would be like my first 10 pity. So I need like 60 more pulls to have, good luck. So I got Xingqiu. He was one of the rate up characters. So he had a higher chance of getting him. He's amazing. He's super good. He's one of the best units in the game. But I already have 6 copies of him. He's a C6. So they just give me this currency right here. It's like a consolation prize. Now that currency basically only gets used for one thing, and that's in this shop, and it's a special Star Glitter exchange. So I have 22 of it. You can spend it on constellations for other characters. So right now I could get Beto or Noel. You can get these weapons, which aren't good. Don't get these weapons. They cost a lot, and they're not good. And then you can be lazy and basically get world drops. So like instead of killing a bunch of dudes to get this material, I could just buy it with this currency.
Don't do that. You should. So the recommendation for this, everyone, is to use the Star Glitter to buy the standard starting characters. You should only buy the starting characters because you can only get them on the standard banner and they never get a rate up. So if you want, like, I would love a C4 Kaya, a C6 Kaya. It's really, really hard to get Kaya constellations or Amber constellations or Lisa constellations unless you buy them there.
Okay.
Yep.
All right.
I just use them for fates. So like right now, because I got those 25 from Xingqiu, that's 4 new fates. So now I have 4 extra pulls. I can go back to the banner. I have like 140 more pulls. So I can just do it again. Now, unfortunately, I did a single 10 pull last night on the weapon banner and got lucky. So I didn't get lucky on this stream because I probably used up all my luck already. But like this time I got Beto.
So the purple thing, let me just go back to that because I remember I was watching somebody do a poll live and they were like, we're going to try to get whatever. And it was funny to me because it got to that, the comet page and it went boom and he went, and I'm like, what are you reacting to?
So,
because we haven't seen what you got yet.
The color, right? So you're guaranteed every 10 pull you will always get a 4-star because hard pity for 4-star or for 4 stars is 10. You will always get a 10, right? When you see that thing go gold, that is when you go woohoo, and you see people get excited.
All right.
You'll
So
see
we're at
Gherkin
pity
Shield here
now.
get excited. Here, I'll
We're
try
at
one
pity
too.
now. So now we're at 70 pulls without getting anything. So now I have a slight increase for the next 30 pulls until I hit 90. So this one
And it goes
probably
up
will be
fast.
it.
It
'Cause
goes up real fast. Like
Yep,
it's
see?
exponential.
It's gold. So now we have the second. So I got excited, right? I'm all hyped up, but I'm not guaranteed Yalan. So if this hits like a Chi-Chi, I cry because Chi-Chi's terrible.
Okay.
Chi-Chi's like the
I'm-
worst thing to pull.
Yes. So the joke is people are like, here's your guide for your new Yalan character, and they'll post like a Chi-Chi picture of what you need for leveling Chi-Chi because you're gonna get Chi-Chi. So now I click through to see how early in it I got it. So I was at 70 pity, so now it's 72.
It's crazy to me that
73.
like I look at what you're getting, the weapons, and it's stuff that I'm getting, and you're so much farther ahead than me. Like you're still getting the debate club.
And I got Yalan, so I got lucky.
Yay!
I won the 50-50. I have Yalan.
Okay,
But I
I'm
want
going for
C1
C1 Hu Tao. Should I do some pulls there? I think I've got one
Alright.
more I can do. I can do one more 10 pull.
Watching live
And I'm
polls is
at
always fun.
oh gosh, what's my pity at? I think I'm at 60 something.
So I'm at 20.
I love that there's a pity. That's so funny.
So other gacha games don't have pities. Like some of them just don't. You could spend $1 million, and if you're unlucky, you will never pull the character you want.
Right.
The fact that Genshin does is the only reason I'm okay playing it. Because to me, it's not gambling. To me, it's I either had enough of the resource or money, right? Like at most, I would have to spend $200 or whatever. And if I'm okay with that, which usually I'm not, I don't consider it gambling at that point because I know,
Well,
like, yes,
and
I
actually
can get
that-
it early, but for the most part, I've just made peace with. I spent $200 to get this. I just bought it essentially.
And that's legit because there's actually like I think it's in the EU, right? There are some of these games that are illegal. Like Epic just got in trouble for putting in some kind of system into their game. It's like, no, that's gambling, and you are, so no, you're not allowed to have that in your game.
That's why they have the odds explained so clearly and so well, is because they have to do that for legal reasons.
Gold again.
Woo!
This was slightly before pity, so we'll see. But the odds that it's Yalan is pretty low.
50-50, yeah. I'm at 50-50. I'm out.
I've won the last 5 50-50s in a row, so we'll see.
I've lost 10 until I won my last.
Yep,
I've lost.
Chi-Chi!
Called
Woohoo!
it.
No,
Now,
that's
I
good.
think I
don't
have a
like her.
C6 Chi-Chi now, which is actually kind of pog, but yeah. So now I'm out of these fates. But I still have Primo gems, which you can also just spend Primos. So we'll see. Did I get lucky? Dang it.
Dang it.
Here, I have more. Ooh, 18 more pulls.
We'll stop you when you pull out your credit card.
Yeah, I'm not gonna pull it out. But
I would have to, and I would if this is the end of the month. But I'm guaranteed I'm gonna at least get a 5-star on this banner, and because of all my pulls, I'm basically, if I spent money, I would be guaranteed to get a 5-star on stream.
All right. Are you pulling right now or not?
Me?
Yeah.
All right. Hold on. I'll be right back.
I'm doing
I'll spend
single
a few
pulls
bucks.
now. Because
No,
I'm just-
you don't have to do that.
I'm-
I was just like, I'm like,
No,
or are we moving on to the next question?
It's done.
That's
I'll be right back. It's over. It's over.
I'm
funny.
spending single
Okay,
pulls
fine.
to see if I get lucky. But no, I pulled on the weapon banner as a joke yesterday, and I pulled exactly what I wanted on the first pull. So I was like, wow, that would have been way cooler to happen when someone was watching. But I was pretty
right.
happy.
That's funny. So okay, that really helps. I'm surprised, like how I guess, like you said, one of the things about a gacha game is that they try to complicate it and make it so that you have to do this to get this, to get that, to do this, and that way it feels. I guess I don't know. It's psychological. Like you feel like you're spending less because you buy one of those special crystals or whatever, and it turns into 10 of them, which turns into 100 other things. Right? It feels like you're getting a lot more.
Yeah, and I can show, like, I did this thing called pre-farming. So, like, I can already... Where is she? I can already level up Yalan, I think, to 90.
Yes.
So, like, I don't have to grind
Yay!
for her now.
We have a victory.
C1 Hu Tao with a Staff of Homa.
You should explain what a big deal that is.
So
Yes,
yeah, I was
please do.
going to. So let's since we're talking about this, we're talking about characters. I don't think this is on our Q&A, but I think this is a good opportunity to talk about pity or about constellations.
Sounds good.
So I'll just explain why that was a big deal and why the $30 is worth it. So let's talk about the weapons real quick. We talked about how the weapon banner is a scam. The reason why the weapon banner is kind of a scam is when you look at the weapon banner, each of these weapons represents at most 20% increase in their damage. Realistically, 10 to 15 for most characters, going from another 5-star or a really good 4-star for them, right?
Mm-hmm.
You're like, when things get really exciting is like the Staff of Homa. Staff of Homa on its signature character is a 20% DPS increase. 20% more damage just by getting this weapon. That level of increase is really uncommon. So, plus it's really good on like Zhao. Is it better than this?
It completely depends on your artifacts, and I'm not pulling Homa because with my artifacts, it would be exactly the same as Primordial Jadewing Spear.
Yeah, so. You're getting into theory crafting and big stuff. Yep. But constellations, right? But when you can get constellations or weapons. And let's talk about those constellations, right? Let's talk, since we're talking Yelan and Xingqiu, and this is the hot topic, everyone's talking about it. Generally speaking, as a rule of thumb, I would say a C6 4-star is typically about a 5-star strength character. Okay. Would you agree with that, Justin?
5-star with only one constellation? 5-star with like not built up like
5-star, just 0 constellation. C0, 5-star,
okay. All
right.
Outside of the big 4, yes.
Yeah, generally speaking, as a rule, right? There's certain characters like Yelan, Hu Tao, and Kazuha where it becomes just this monstrous increase in their damage. Kazuha at C1, if you put a Thundering Fury set on him and put him in an Aggravate team, he just pogos the entire time. Jump, plunge, jump, plunge, jump, plunge, jump, plunge, all day long. It becomes unreal.
Okay.
So, in each time you get a copy of the character, you get one constellation, with the exception of the starter character, which you get them through the game and the Animoculuses and Geooculuses and stuff. So each one of these does something to alter their kit in some way. Mm-hmm. And Xingqiu gives you more rain swords. This is good. This is more hydro application. There are rules with about how the actions work. For beginners, we're not going to talk about those. But more application, more better. Right? Mm-hmm. Right? More application is more better.
Yeah.
This one increased everyone's hydro damage because it reduces the hydro resistance of the enemy, right? And 3 and 4 are always skill and burst boost. This one makes his rain swords, his Q, do 50% more damage.
Nice.
This makes his Q not just do even more damage, but also means you don't need energy recharge really for him.
Okay, so why were you so excited about the pull you just got with the Pyro character? What made that exciting?
Generally speaking,
because I noticed you already have them. Right.
So let's look at this. 50% charge rate, not really worth not a big DPS increase, right? That might be a 10-15% DPS increase. Ayaka's a 10% increase. Shenhe, well, that one's pretty good. His 2 pillars, not useful whatsoever. His 20%. Like a 5% DPS increase.
All right.
Hu Tao is regarded as the most broken C1 unit in the game because her kit revolves around her charge attack. So this is where learning the character comes in and why you can't just you can just use the build guides, but when you get to the end game, and using those build guides are good for starting and not thinking about it, when you get to Spiral Abyss and the end game, you really got to start thinking about how to truly maximize your damage, right? And Hu Tao's maximum damage comes from her charge attack. Her charge attack multipliers, remember when we went over these?
Yep.
This number, really big. That's a big charge number. And that's where all of her most of her damage comes from. She also applies Pyro and can vaporize every time she charge attacks. So if they have Hydro on them, she gets a 1.5 increase damage on top of that.
Right.
Charge attacks, though, have one problem. They kill your stamina. Not no more.
Oh, wow.
So she goes from being able to do at most 7 or 6 if you execute her rotation perfect, 7 or 6 charge attacks during her E burst window of like 9 seconds. This puts it at a maximum of 12. This Constellation 1 is a 20% DPS increase on top of the Staff of Homo, which was another 20% increase.
Wow.
So my Hu Tao just became pretty broken. And every other constellation for her is kind of useless. They don't do nearly as much as that.
That's neat. That's really neat. Okay, very, very cool. Well, I appreciate that. That's been very, very helpful and very, very
Some
interesting.
constellations just like completely change what a character is even like supposed to do. And well, like some characters just aren't even worth like using without constellations. I think the newest
and that's usually
example,
your support characters, right? Like Faruzan and Kujo Sara. They're very niche characters. They're kind of pay to win.
Yeah, so Faruzan is the newest example, but like before you hit Constellation 6, she's all right. Like she kind of does her job. She's like an Animo support, so like anyone that uses winds like can do more damage essentially if she's on the team. But as soon as you get her C6, which says characters affected by her ult have their crit damage increased by 40% when they deal Animo damage. And whenever the active character deals damage with this ability, they will basically apply these AoE like tornado thingies that like suck enemies in, and it can happen every 3 seconds. So it essentially transforms her into a self-sustaining like god tier support like Xingqiu or Yelan, but for Animo. Yeah. But she doesn't do that.
I'm looking forward to when we get into getting to talk about building the teams, because it sounds like there's a real science to who you put with who and when. Okay, so before we get into that though, I just want to
theory crafting.
You know what? Actually, let's do that. Let's get into team building. Where I wanted to go after this was basically to kind of be like, as far as your dailies and far as the things you need to do in order to maximize Genshin impact the easiest possible way. That's where I was thinking about going. But why don't we talk about teams, since that's a really complicated part of this, and then we'll get back. We'll end the stream and end the stuff by kind of talking about the ways that you guys play or whatever. But let's go talk about that team thing.
Can you pull up
we're gonna switch to Justin since Dragon talked for like a while.
Sorry. Pull up that graphic though to show like the reactions. It'll help guide the conversation because those reactions make a big difference, right? Because really all you're trying to do is get those reactions.
Yeah, let me pull it up. Blah, blah, blah. All right. Gotta make this look less terrible.
That's what we're shooting for. Less terrible. In the meantime, we'll watch Dragon Daddy play.
All right.
And he stopped.
Yeah, ultra wide.
Oh,
right.
well.
So this is...
Oh, wait, I have this. Hold on a second. I can do this one.
Yeah, you show this, so then I can
help.
show...
I can help.
So that I can show the in-game.
All right, there we go.
Okay.
So that's...
So that graph, which I can't tell if you have it pulled up yet or not, but...
I do.
He does.
Okay, cool. So that graph essentially tells you in a very complicated way that hurts my brain how every reaction works with every other reaction, or each element. So when I look at that and I go to this team page, the party setup page, there's a couple of things to note. The first one is elemental resonance. So ideally, you want to have at least one of these activated for any given team, because they just give you free buffs essentially for picking a certain character. So right now, my team, it's Wanderer, Faruzan, Yelan, and Xingqiu. This is probably the best Wanderer team for a couple reasons. The first one is the soothing water. So if you have double hydro, you can get affected by pyro for 40% less time, which is kind of useless. Doesn't really do anything.
Is that any two, right? Anytime you have two hydros of any kind, or just those two characters?
Any hydros. So I could use Barbara and Kokomi if I wanted for this effect. Where it's OP is that it increases your max HP by 25%.
Oh, wow.
Now, what we talked about earlier was Yelan completely scales off HP. So this, by pairing Yelan with Xingqiu, which they're basically the same characters, she does 20% more damage just for pairing another Hydra with her, or 25% more damage, which is insane. And then double Animo is even cooler. This is like the overworld is basically like when you're just running around the open world. double animo is OP for it because all of your stamina consumption is 15% reduced. So you can sprint more, climb more, fly more, and you run 10% faster, and your skills have a 5% quicker cooldown.
Oh.
So like, I think like my favorite one is the double animo because I can just do all of the stuff I want to do more with less annoying waiting. So this team, because it's built around using my Wanderer's skills a lot, I wanted those skills. And each of those elements are different, right? So like if I chose one of each different element type, there's also a thing for that, which is called any 4 unique elements. You're just tankier, basically. You get more resistance, you get more physical resistance. That's about it. I mean, it's a cool constellation prize, but it doesn't do too much.
So
I think,
let me pull back to the other screen then, because here's where you're missing out, right? So now you've on this team, you've got 2 Hydro, you got 2 Animo, but when you go looking at this the graph that we have here, you've basically eliminated a ton of the opportunities for the enemies you're going to fight and the way that you can do the really powerful
so this
hits.
team can only do, which the graph shows, 2 things by itself. It only can apply Hydro, and then it can apply Animo to that Hydro to swirl. So I can do lots of swirls.
Right.
The part that's cool is that my team is not the only way to do reactions. Based off the enemies I'm fighting, I'm going to get other reactions.
Okay. We got a question from the crowd here, and that is, how do you compete in the Snow Mountain missions without freezing to death first? I keep running around finding fires, but there doesn't seem to be enough of them where I want to go.
Yeah, so the Snow Mountain area is really annoying. You do freeze to death quite a bit. The easiest way is first off, get all of the fast travel points. So if you have all the fast travel points, you can skip a lot of the running around, but you got to do it at least once. So you got to, do that. But if you have enough healing on your team, so if you have like a dedicated healer,
what are you circling there, Dragon Daddy Bear?
Oh, warming bottle. It's a way you don't have to run around, but they take money. And there's also, when you do the quest, there's an item, a food item that reduces, it's goulash, I think. Something goulash that reduces that effect. Oh, it's here. It's delicious goulash. It's one of the quests you get. So that'll make your life easier. But he's right. The best way to do it is if you have, like, if you're watching what I'm doing, I'm not doing anything. I'm just taking tons and tons and tons of damage because I don't care. Because I'm just constantly healing myself. You know what I'm saying?
Interesting.
Up there.
I've never. Oh, you got some crazy stuff going on up there. I've never even seen that. All right. Cool. So, okay, we were talking about these combos, but in the context of building your team, right? So you talked about building your team when it comes to the the elemental connections and the bonuses you get there. And then the fact that those elemental connections, if you can get another bonus because the character itself has a bonus, you're doing, you're double helping yourself kind of thing.
Yeah.
So let's talk about
enemies.
I was going to ask the question. So how do you know, depending on what adventure you're going on, what area you're going into or whatever, how to set up a really good team for that? Is this graphic that you're looking at here basically like, well, if I'm going to go fight in, a bunch of animal characters or a bunch of dendro characters, then I'm going to go get the opposite of that? Like, how does that work?
Yeah, so like there's generalist teams that'll just work.
And feel free to chip in, Dragon Daddy Bear.
Yeah, there's like generalist teams that will work for anything that are like self-sufficient, right? So like if I wanted to build a melt team, for example, I would need to bring a hydro unit that applies water to somebody. I would need to bring a cryo unit that can freeze them, and then I would need a pyro unit to melt them. So I would need the 3 elements. But if I'm fighting a unit that is already cryo, which means they're already frozen all the time, I can just ignore the cryo unit and the hydro unit. I could just run 4 pyro if I wanted to, and then I would just get to melt every single hit. So like if you know what you're going up against, you can just omit certain elements, because if your enemy has the element already on them, you can also just use that for reactions.
But they don't let you change your team once you've kind of engaged in battle. You can't go, oops, I got to go change my guys. Right.
True.
Or you can teleport away.
Yeah, that's true. You can just the Spiral Abyss is the only place where like this becomes a really big concern, because once you hit high enough, like, once your characters are invested in enough and high enough level, you can just brute force most things. unless it's like certain things where like they're just immune to your damage type. Like there's bounties that you can do for like reputation, and you'll have units that are like, I'm immune to electro, and so if you just bring a bunch of electro units, you actually just can't damage them.
Right.
And the like abyss, like the little floaty dudes that have the shields, you know what I'm talking about? The abyss mages.
Abyss mages.
They're notoriously annoying at the beginning of the game because the fastest way to break their shield is to use the element that the shield's weak to. And if you're using, say, a hydro unit on a hydro shield, you're never breaking that shield. It'll take an hour.
I've definitely noticed that.
Yeah, that's where it gets kind of annoying. But that's where your team building comes into the equation.
So can I ask Dragon Daddy Bear, as we're talking about this, and you've sent me a few graphics here that to be able to kind of explain things. I'm gonna ask you to nerd out a little bit here on this reaction web with Dendro, because it looks like that's something that it could be valuable, but at the same time I don't really thoroughly grasp. So can you, because we just like, I get that this is, you go to this graph and whatever, like, okay, let's skip that and just kind of talk about what is a reaction web, and using Dendro as an example. Yeah,
so that was that. So the graph is not meant to be interpreted, but to illustrate a point. The numbers, it's like an Apple graph. The numbers are made up and the reality doesn't matter. But go back onto the reaction web, and what I want to talk about here is, he's talking about, how to what enemies to go against, right? Normally what you do when you build a team is you build when you build a team, you build it based around a reaction type. So like I actually have my names named after this, right? So this is my travel team, 2 animals, just as he said, plus Yolande who, zip around. This is a spread team. It deals spread damage. This is a freeze team. This is my vape Hu Tao team. This is my geo team. This is my quicken team, right? The bloom team, my physical team, my animo team, and my melt team. Right, I have all these different teams that really leverage each one of those reactions. And so really when you're making a team, it's all about, well, how do you want to make, what kind of team do you want to make, right? And really for you, XtianNinja, and most beginners is, well, what do you have?
What have you got?
Right? Because what we're talking about is meta here in the end game. But for you, let's meet you where you're at, right? Let's talk about realistic characters. Let's say all you've got is a Bennett. Who else do you? You have
John
Razor,
Ling,
right?
Probably.
You have Razor. So
actually, Pineapple has a good question, and that is, what do you do if you need a mixture? Do you just go with the character qualifications, or is there a way to mix better? Like
there is a way to mix better. I'm working on it. Okay. Good question. Perfect. You're reading me like a book there. I'm almost there. But like XtianNinja, let's build a team for you. What characters here do you have that you like? You like Sayu, right? And Razor?
Yep.
Right? Who else do you have?
No, Sayu, hold on.
Not Sayu.
Let me pull you up.
You can't use Sayu. You can't level up. Who else do you have that you like?
I like Razor, and I like let me think. Who do I use? I usually use, the main guy, the Traveler, and then next to him is Amber. After that is the NIIGU, the
Ningguang.
Yeah, that one. And then Razor. That's my main team that I go do damage with, because they kind of work well together. The only one I swap out is if I swap Ningguang with the first little cry guy you get, but I can't remember his name. Right? Because
Kaya?
that way, Kaya. Yeah.
So
that's what I do.
All right, and then who do you have? What other characters do you have that you like? Do you have official yet?
Nope. Okay, hold on. The characters that I have that I like. I should be pulling up my Genshin, because then I would remember. I'm like,
I'll start with this team.
Asking me questions about my stuff.
So I'll start with this team, right? So pretend like he's Geo. Let's do this. Let's deploy this team, and I'll show you. Christian, you're aware that the Traveler can change elements, right?
Yep.
All right, so let's go change his element, and I'll show you a team. In the early game, the damage dealing is so irrelevant that it doesn't really matter. You can use whatever you want. I'll switch him over to Geo, though, just to show you. Resonate with Geo. Do you have Bennett yet?
Nope.
All right. Bennett. So there's a couple 4-stars in the game that you absolutely like. Even if you don't want the 5-star, you should pull. Bennett, Sincho, Fischl are on that list.
Okay.
Bennett's probably the best option here. So this is a weird. So this is an all attack scaling Geo party. She converts like Hutel converts HP to attack. She converts Geo to attack, but she's there just for your shield, right? He's here because he's a good burst dealer. Oops, I didn't want her. I wanted Benny Boy. All right, let me go find something to kill. All right, I'll show you kind of how this team works and why. Like, you really pick an element. You can go mono element, right? You can go mono pyro. You can go mono hydro. It's not as common. Like mono geo's like an actual meta team. Like if you get Noelle or Ito built out, like my Noelle is pretty legit. I'll show my stats here in a little bit.
Right.
But for you,
so I'll tell you my the people that I have. Right. So this is like I have the Traveler, and I have Amber, I have Ningguang, I have Razor, I have Kaya, obviously. Then after that I have Yun Jin, who I just got, who's the spear. I have Seiyu, who is very adorable and can climb like crazy. I have Xinyan, which she plays the fiery guitar. Mm-hmm. I have Barbara, who I didn't even know I had until I went looking through a menu. I'm like, oh look, I got a character. I got Noelle, and I got obviously I got Lisa. That's all I've got so far, right? So I think I have all of everything represented except Dendro, which I can switch Traveler to.
All right, so here's a good starter team for you. All right, and let's talk about how and why I know what this is and why this is a good team.
Okay, and I'm going to argue, and then this is where I'm gonna ask questions and argue with the expert because I'm confused.
Yes.
And you know, because I've had this set up, and the reason I'm confused is because the way Lisa attacks is like when you do her Q, she throws out that big circle with the lantern in the middle, mm-hmm. and then all the bad guys leave the circle, and then there's really does nothing. So I'm like, what is the point of having the big? It's the same problem that I have with Amber, is that I'll let her rip, and then everybody just leaves the area that she's shooting arrows in.
All right, I can change this. Hold on.
I also have a team suggestion.
Yeah, I'm doing. Yeah, you should help him too build a team. I'm trying to help him build a Geo team real quick. So,
Geo,
and yeah, I'm helping build a mono Geo team because it's what he has. And it's really why did I do that? I need to really.
Okay, when you say mono Geo, what do you mean?
Or like Geo is the element you're going for. Like you're gonna be a Geo team, right? So remember I said that reaction thing. You want to build around one reaction. Right. So one of the things you have with Lisa. So let's talk about the team real quick and the roles of a team. Okay. Now, normally we talk about main DPS. That's a very MMO RPG game. Right. A more accurate term for Genshin may be on-field character or main on-field character or driver character. Right. Normally, the way that you set up your teams in Genshin is you usually have some kind of supportive defensive utility, right? And in this case, Noelle can heal when you need her to. You pop her burst, and then you just start attacking until you're healed up enough, and you get out of her, right? Her shield isn't the best, but it'll do for you for now. Lisa. So then you have the other roles, which are sub DPS / burst DPS. People who can do a lot of damage that don't need to stay on the field for very long, right? Get them, they make some big numbers, and they go away. And then you get the people that you want to stay on field, okay? And in this role, I would use, I like to put I go 1, 2, 3, 4. Some people go the other round. I would build it like this. And there's a reason why I have Animo here in a minute. So let's imagine this team fighting, right? You pop her shield, you're safe.
Right.
Don't do this. Don't bother. She's here just for this skill. You go like this, and then they all go away. Suck them back in. Then you go here, walk through, attack, charge attack, attack, charge attack. And she'll get those little circle things around her. You know what I'm talking about? The little things that go around, you hit them. Attack, charge attack. That's it. And what's cool about her is her charge attacks, if you take no stamina if you have one of those little circle things. So attack, charge attack. And then rinse and repeat. Pop your shield. do one of these until you get energy, if you can. If you can't, don't use her. Go back here, suck them back up, bring them back in, group them up, attack, charge attack. Obviously, pop your shield, walk through it, get your 15% geo damage, attack, charge check. There you go.
Wait,
Ningguang is your main
walk
damage
through the shield,
dealer.
what happened? What happened?
Oh, it's a character passive. It's a ascension. Sorry, they call these ascension passives, A1 and A4. So when you get level 20, you get this.
Mhm.
And then you hit level 60, instead of like a wish, you get this bonus. So
Okay,
it doesn't
all right.
matter for you right now, I guess.
Yeah,
you
yeah,
could actually
okay.
just sit here like this and like fight hilly churls and they can't hurt you. The shooting ones that are really annoying.
Yes,
that
that one
shoot
I knew.
On top of
Okay.
yeah.
Tell you what, I think we've done enough on the team stuff. That's great. I'm going to ask now, just as we kind of get into the end game here before we shut her down. And we got a whole bunch of questions on here basically about the daily way that you play the game. Like for example, what's the best way to do your dailies? What's the best way to use your resin? What's the best thing you should do with like your money and whatnot? So can you just kind of give us, I think let's just talk about from Gherkinsteel's perspective. Just say, what's a day in the life of a guy who wants to do Genshin right? What do you got to make sure you get on there?
Yeah.
You do this, you do this, you do this, you do this, and you make sure that's going to help you build properly before you do anything else. What do you do? Day in the life of a Genshin nerd.
So every day, throughout the whole day, every 18 hours or so, you get this resource called Resin that refreshes. So you get 160 of it total, and basically twice a day, if you're really going hard, you want to use this so that it never hits the 160 number. When it hits 160, you don't gain any more. So you'll just be stuck at that resource. This resource is essentially how you progress through the entire game. So by spending it, you can earn artifacts, you can earn Mora, you can earn level up materials. Anything that you need to earn to progress is gated behind this. Basically, it's essentially a waiting window. They don't want you to progress too fast. So you have to use this. And if you don't, you can't do it outside of questing. So I never let this hit 160. So when I log in, I usually will start off doing one run of whatever I'm progressing for that day. Which is usually an artifact, because in the end game, you farm a lot of artifacts. So to do that, you have to find a domain. And I guess I'll show the easy way to find domains. You can go to your adventurer handbook, and then you can go to domains. And then I sort it by artifacts, but you can also sort it by weapon materials or talents. And you can go through and you can see all the different artifact domains. The one that is probably the most resin efficient, which basically means the artifacts you get from the domain are good, like both of them, because usually only one of them will be good. So for example, a notoriously really bad one would be like Crimson Witch of Flame. This one.
Viridescent Venerer.
Or yeah, Viridescent's actually the worst defender. So this is one of the best artifact sets in the entire game. It gives you an animo damage bonus, and it basically makes it so every time you swirl a reaction, you make that reaction do more damage, essentially. So everyone usually will farm this, because for animo units, they all just use it because it's the best. That's great, except that you also have the chance of getting Maiden's Beloved, which just gives you some stats like more healing and whatever. It's pretty much useless. No one uses this. If you look up a guide on a character, no one's using this artifact. So half of the artifacts you get, you won't be using. So this isn't super resin efficient.
But you can use them to boost the other one.
Yes, you could eat them, essentially.
Yeah.
This domain, though, Momiji Dyed Court, is considered the best artifact domain to farm, and it's in Inazuma, so if you're not there, you can't do it yet. But it has two amazing artifact sets. Emblem of Severed Fate is used on almost every single support in the game. A lot of the free ones, like Xingqiu, Zhongling, Yelan. And it gives you 20% elemental recharge if you equip 2 pieces of it. So just 2 of your slots have to be this. And if you have 4, you get to increase your burst damage, which everybody likes, by 25% of your elemental recharge. And then you can get a maximum of 75%. So it's basically a big damage boost and lets you use that damage boost more often. It's just a very good
I'm actually
artifact.
kind of surprised that you'd still go and grind and do all this stuff for your artifacts, because I figured you were done. Like you've been going for so long, you'd have them all.
Artifacts are the end game, dude.
Pretty much. And then Shimenawa's has an amazing 2-piece bonus, which is an attack plus 18%. So a lot of the time on a unit, if you're doing like a mix match of 2 different sets, so 2 pieces, this will be one of them. And then the skill is less useful, but some characters use it, and it essentially makes it so you can trade your energy on your ultimate to boost your normal charged or plunging attack damage by a whopping 50% for 10 seconds. So for some characters, this is amazing. And because you get 2 pretty good artifact sets from this domain, you have a higher likelihood of getting good substats, which is what you're grinding for in the first place. So both of these are good. Now, if you have a bunch of stuff you don't like and you want to get something like Verdescent Venerer, which is the one we said was bad, you can always just teleport to, Mondstadt.
I've got that pulled up for you real quick. Real quick.
You go over it.
Yeah, well, no, I just want to show because I already had it up. But real quick, here's how good Emblem of Severed Fate is. I have 7 characters with it equipped right now.
Oh.
I have no other sets other than Viridescent Venerer, which is on every single animal character I have, is 6. That's how popular these artifact sets are.
Yeah.
Out of all my characters, that accounts for a quarter of them with just 2 artifacts.
Yeah.
Huge.
And
they're that big of a deal. And then, like you were saying here, I'm already here at what they call it the artifact scan box. I don't know what level you have to get to. I think you have to be adventure rank 45 or something first. That's the other thing. Don't farm artifacts right now. Artifacts, not really good use until adventure rank 40, probably 45 is when when you can do the hardest version and get guaranteed 5-star artifacts, right? The best artifacts.
Okay. All right.
But for the crappy ones, you just come in here, find all your junk, dump it in, and you get terrible artifacts back for it.
Okay.
But this way, like if you want Verdescent, you aren't worried about getting Maiden's Beloved because you're trading only for Viridescent. So like,
right.
Yeah.
So if you get like a Shimenawa's has an attack bonus, right? Odds of you using an elemental mastery based characters with Shimenawa is pretty low. Aside from the fact that EM pieces are rare, but let's stick with this for example. That would be a good one to get rid of, right? Or like defense percent on a Viridescent piece. It's for animal. There are no animal characters that scale off of defense. Right.
Okay. Let me pull it back to the original question for Gherkinsteel. Okay. So you go
grinds.
the daily grind.
Yeah. So I will dump all of my resin so that I can just not play for 16 hours and let it accumulate. As soon as that is done, I do what they call daily commissions. Now, depending on where you are in the game, they look different, but you can change them here. So in your adventurer handbook, you have a commission tab. You can choose right here where those are. So for me, I picked Sumeru because I want to fight Sumeru units because I need their drops for things. So I just choose Sumeru, and then they give you 4 quests every single day. They're usually pretty quick. Like once you're later in the game, you can beat each one within like a minute. Like they're pretty quick, especially the combat ones. Wow. But you do the little mini game. Usually it's like you fight a couple dudes, you escort something, or you just like water some plants. You do those and you get your 10 primo gems per one and a couple other materials. And then you take that to the Adventurer Guild. In Mondstadt, the Adventurer Guild is down here. So
Gherkinsteel, can you go back to that with a question from the crowd here that says the guide tab on the side? What is that useful for?
Are you talking about this guide?
Guide, yeah.
So the guide tab essentially tells you which things you should like that you haven't done, which you should be doing, because there's so much in the game that like you can get kind of lost. Like I have incomplete story quest. It says I can click this, the little exclamation point, and it'll take me to my story quest tab and say you haven't done these story quests yet, which is true. I haven't done any of these 3. Or it could say it says I haven't done a world quest in this area. It says Dream Nursery. I can click it, and it's trying to get me to do this world quest, basically, which will give me 20 primo gems if I complete it. So, like, if you're trying to 100% the game, this will tell you the stuff you're missing. I don't use this too often because I'm pretty goal focused. I know exactly what I want to do, but this will tell you the things that you haven't done, like Archon quests, story quests, and world quests.
Thank you, Chovy.
Very helpful.
It hasn't been around for super long.
Appreciate it, bud.
And then the M battle thing is actually very new and super helpful. You're going to accidentally complete all of these. Like if you just ascend a character, you get this material, right? And there's a bunch of chapters of it, but it essentially just gives you artifact enhancement material so that you don't have to get rid of artifacts to level up artifacts. So like when this is done, you can cash in, grab all this, and it'll help you level stuff up.
All right.
But for the commissions, you take it to this lady, Catherine, and she's in every single city. So the 4 major cities we have right now, she's in those. You can talk to her, and then there's this spot here which will glow yellow when you've completed it, and it will say claim daily commission rewards.
That's the purple one, right?
Yes. So you can click it, and she'll give you your resources. After I do that, I claim the adventurer rank if I've leveled up, but it takes so long to level up at my stage that I do this probably once every 7 months. And then you have dispatch characters on expeditions, and this is something that you really shouldn't ignore. So mine just finished.
I was wondering about that because it seems so pointless to me. Because I'm like, well, are they doing anything? Like, you don't lose them from your inventory. They just, what are they doing?
So in 13 hours, these units will bring back these materials, and depending on which units you send, it'll take different amounts of time.
Yeah.
So for example,
I didn't do this, by the way, XtianNinja. I didn't do this at all for the same reason. I spent months not doing this because I figured every character I sent was not going to be usable.
Right.
Not the case. You can send them. It's like a virtual pretend expedition where you can use a character for X time and get Y materials back. And some of them give you a bonus.
Yes. So I have Kujo Sara and Kuki Shinobu for Inazuma expeditions. One of them takes the full 20 hours. So you want to make sure you're on the 20-hour one most of the time because you get the most rewards. She'll take the whole time, but she'll get 25% more rewards. But if I'm going to log in, later in the day, I can also choose Kujo, who just reduces the time by 25%. So she can get the 20-hour reward for less time. But because I log in once a day, I choose Kuki. Now, the reason this is important is I know you don't believe it now, but you're going to go broke on Mora at some point.
Okay.
So I always send most of my characters to grab Mora, because if you're going to level up artifacts, you're going to run out of Mora. And the rest of them, the other 2, so I have Bennett and Fischl doing it, farm this material called Crystal Chunk. You can farm this in the open world. I'm lazy. I don't like doing it.
So it's just a way to get stuff. It's just a quicker way to get stuff.
While you're not playing. So you can take Crystal Chunks to this guy, which is what I do next. I say I want something made. And then I have Forge Queue, so I'm collecting what I had made. So I put my Crystal Chunks in this little machine, and he takes some time to turn them into something. But he turns them into weapon enhancement ores. So I take this, I slide the little thingy to 5, and I spend all of my crystal chunks on these, and I can basically use these to level up character weapons without getting rid of other weapons. So the more of these you have, the higher level you can get a weapon without, burning up all your other weapons. Once that's done,
there is the option to use your to do these ones that use your resin. Not recommended. Unless you're like, I have 5 minutes today to spend all of my resin, I can't farm. This would be okay, but this one is not recommended.
Oh, I see. Oh, that's kind of interesting.
So
like if you just can't play, jump it on for 2 minutes and go dump it all that.
There's
and
2 options.
Yeah, you can get your Blessing the Welcome Moon, spend this resin, and you get more. And you get a lot out of it, right? You get 6 for every 10 resin you have. So, you can get a lot, and it takes no time. The creation time, like here, I'm gonna set some in the forge here. It takes a while, right? Like it doesn't just, magically happen instantly. It progresses. But these ones here, this one is like instant. Boom, you get 6 instantly.
Right.
If you don't want to use it on that, what I do every time I'm too lazy to play is I farm these like flies to get this material. But you can spend 40 of your resin on this thing called condensed resin. And you just do this at the little alchemist bench here, the crafting bench. And all it does is it turns your resin into this other material called condensed resin. And you can spend that on domains and get double rewards. So you can farm it in half the time and you can bank it up. Because I said you can't ever get more than 160 resin at a time unless you condense it. So I have 4 condensed resin, which is essentially an entire day's worth of resin that I can use on a different day.
That's cool.
The reason that's important is the game gates you on what you can farm each day outside of Sunday, which is kind of interesting that Sunday's the only day you can do whatever you want. But
so says Pineapple, there's a question in the crowd here that says, at what level of weapons and artifacts is it worth increasing their level? Should you do it at 3-star, or should you just wait to get the 4-star? Like, is it point in investing in a 3-star weapon or artifact, or should you just wait till you get the 4 and then do it?
I can
probably wouldn't invest in any artifacts that aren't gold, unless you just can't beat something. If you hit a wall and you like can't progress anymore, level up something just enough to do enough and then move on, because for the most part, just the way the game is set up, you won't really need, like, the game will never outpace you. So like you have your adventure rank and the world gets harder the higher level you get. So I'm on world level 8, so it expects me to have a certain level of artifacts to kill stuff. But like your level, Ninja, I'm assuming you're at like world level 1, 2, or 3. So stuff's a lot easier. So you don't really need to upgrade the artifacts. But when it comes to weapons, there's certain weapons, which he's showing on the screen now, that are perfectly fine to level up early.
So if I've got 10 bajillion artifacts because I've done a bunch of stuff, what do I do with them?
Like, so here, well, you can feed them, but like for the weapons, like here, let's say you leveled up this weapon for Hu Tao, and then you get deathmatch, right? I've got this weapon, and now I've got deathmatch. What do I do with it? Well, I can actually go back and find that weapon, and I can feed it in here and actually get everything out of it, right? I can regain all the experience I put into it back for this one.
Most of it. You don't get a 1 for 1.
Yeah, I assume they were
It's
just
not 1 for 1. It is
nerf it
waste
completely.
It's the same with artifacts, right? So I'll go to her artifacts, right? If you look at her artifacts, go to her hat, which actually needs to be enhanced. I can actually put in, an artifact that's been leveled up. Now this would waste because you can't you don't get anything back if you overdo it. So be careful on this one. But if you enhance, let's say this one, well, you'll get some extra experience, right? Like I can dump in this thing. You see how much more, see how that experience went up? But if I take that out and just look at this one, you see, they're both 5-star artifacts and worth 6,300. But because this one has 5 levels, it gets a little, you're getting some of that back. Right. So never worry about investing in an artifact. Invest in the best you have. That website Genshin showed earlier was fantastic because it tells you pre-adventure rank 45 what you should use, right? It says, hey, you can't farm the good stuff yet. Use Berserker, use martial artists, use instructors, right? It'll tell you which sets to use.
So we're gonna ask. I'm gonna ask for that website again from you guys. So if you can pop that in the Discord, that would be great. Just at some point, just drop it in the game chat, and then that way everybody can have access to it. All right, we're wrapping up real soon here. So I'm gonna give you guys the last little questions that we got on our screen on our little chat here, and that is, let's see what's a really good one to end on, and
you had how you should spend money.
Both question. So I'm gonna ask last two questions to both of you. First one is what is the hardest thing you've ever had to do in Genshin Impact, and the second one is what is the one thing you regret doing in Genshin Impact? So the hardest thing and the thing that you wish you wouldn't have done. So let's go with Dragon Daddy Bear first.
All right. Hardest thing. I almost quit the game about adventure rank 40. At adventure rank 40, I had been progressing all of my characters up, and this is some really good advice that really doesn't get spoken well. And wow, I am all kinds of choppy. Sorry, my computer's struggling to run everything. But it was I think I had them all at like level 60 or something. But eventually I ran out of materials. I couldn't keep them all up. And the game did start outpacing me. It started going, hey, the game's getting hard. And I don't, even regardless of the best meta teams I could create at the time, I couldn't compete. I couldn't get through some of the quests. So the hardest thing I had to do was, and it actually almost caused both my kids to quit at the same time on the exact same quest in the Leeway, where it's like, where it got really hard. So that was probably the hardest thing for me, was like giving up on, the the idea that I could have all of my characters at level 80 and be maxed out all the time, you notice I'm still trying.
Right.
Because that's my style. While some people invest heavily in certain characters, I like the variety. I make up for lack of full decked out characters by having really good teams, very flexible teams, and being able to use almost any character in any situation. So while I can't overpower it, I can at least use a good team.
Right. That makes sense. And the biggest thing that you regret, what that doing that you wish you could undo?
Well, I spent more money than I probably should have in the game. You don't need to spend money on this game, but
all right, that's a good one.
Pulling Shogun is the other one. I pulled for riding Shogun. I should have waited.
All right,
what do you mean by that?
I'll ask you the same question. So, the what is the hardest thing that you've ever had to do in Genshin, and what's one thing you just regret doing that you wish you could redo?
Yeah, so the hardest thing for me has been like skipping characters. So like if you don't want to spend money, you have to save. You just have to save your primo gems. And a lot of Genshin's community culture is getting hyped up around new characters. So when there's a patch, and this is when I did quit. I quit the game for like 2 months. When there's a patch where new characters come out that you aren't going to pull on and or you don't like, and the events or stuff you don't like, it can be kind of hard to play because a lot of the fun is getting new characters. So for me, like the hardest part was like last patch, I didn't pull out Hatham. Everyone was talking about Hatham the whole patch. He looked cool, but because I wanted Yelan, I couldn't spend any of my resources if I wanted Yelan without spending money. So I had to skip that. And that's just because of FOMO. I don't like not having things. So intentionally skipping characters is always really hard for me because I just want everybody.
Okay.
And then the thing I regret the most, it's.
Can I make a quick comment on it? Some people make alts specifically for that reason, but that's usually teenagers who have more time than we do.
Yeah.
What, like they play 2 games at the same time?
No, they have 2 different accounts.
Dang. No thanks.
Yeah, we have a student that has 78 different Genshin accounts, and she just plays them until she gets the free primos, pulls the characters, and then sells them to people that want that one specific character on an account to play through the game with, basically.
Oh,
so
dang.
That's like her part-time job. Yeah, it's pretty cool.
So okay, before we end, the regret, the thing that you regret.
Yeah, so my biggest regret, and it's actually the one character I actually spent money on to whale for. The rest of them were donated, and that was getting a C6 Kazuha. Kazuha is like the best unit in the entire game. He's completely broken, and his C6 changes him from a support into like a main on-field DPS because it makes it so when he uses his elemental abilities, he infuses his weapon with Anemo. So he can basically like be an on-field like Anemo attacker. And although that's super cool, all it really does is just buff his damage. So it doesn't like change how you play him in a dramatic way like Zhao or like some of the other characters. It doesn't like change how he plays. So all it really did is I one-shot stuff faster. And so he's the one I spent money on to get it because it was cool and I love him. But like it was kind of a waste, and I could have just had like another character. Like I should have left him at C2, skipped 3, 4, 5, and 6, and saved some money there.
Okay.
Like so I do regret getting him C6.
Could Justin at the time or Gurkil at the time have known that if you'd have thought it through, or is that something you learned?
Yes.
You could have.
So I watched guides. They showed me what. So I went to Lose Game, and we've mentioned him a couple times. He actually has a rating system on constellations. So he'll be like, how many slimes good is this? 5 slime best, 1 being the worst. And he said, although this one is very good, this is a support character. And at the time, I thought I wanted to main DPS him. I didn't know I didn't want to, because he's just such a good support. I don't need to. But he basically said C6 is just cool and it's whale territory, and like you don't need it because it doesn't like really change anything. And I just kind of ignored that because I got, I was like, well, I can and I will. So I waited for Kazuha for a year. No, 2 years. I waited for like a year and a half to get him because I wanted him when I started playing the game, and his banner didn't come around until like this summer. Like I waited a very long time. So.
Hey there, Twangy. How you doing? Well, you know what, guys? Thank you so much. We're dumping back. We're done now. We've done so much. We've talked about so many things that I think I need a little break to get my brain wrapped around what the heck we've been talking about, and then go jump on and play some Genshin. So, guys, thank you so much for being part of this. Thank you for lending your wisdom and your experience to a game that, for a lot of people out there, they're not going to understand. Why would we spend so much time thinking about the numbers and putting it all together? But for a lot of people, this is really, really fun. It's really, really interesting, and I'm glad that you guys have taken the time to help us out. And so if anybody wants to go follow these guys, if you want to watch some good Genshin stuff and some guys who know what they're doing, go follow Gherkinsteel, go follow Dragon Daddy Bear. What's cool is they do not stream at the same time at all, or even at the same time as me. So there's no competition here. You can just Genshin all day long and then come back and make fun of me during the afternoons while you watch all these guys do the rainbow explosion things, and I'm just sitting there, pitiful. But that's okay. Well, I'll get there. I'll get there. But guys, last thing you want to say? Anything you go give yourself a shout out or give yourself a minute to just give people a reason to come to your channel. So let's do Dragon Daddy Bear. You get a minute to talk about it. You're muted. How'd that happen?
Yeah, I don't hear him either.
My daughter came in. I'm sorry.
Oh,
okay.
This is like hot ones, right? Am I supposed to eat like hot sauce before I do this? Like it's supposed to be really hot sauce? Oh,
yeah. Just give yourself a shout out, man.
Yeah. So why would you come visit me? We are a family-friendly gaming. My daughter, come over here, quick, kiddo. Come say hi. No. She's being shy right now. We stream Roblox, Genshin Impact, sometimes Minecraft. But we're family-friendly. We do it as a family. Christians, but all are welcome.
Far out. Cool. Gherkinsteel, shout yourself out.
Yeah, so I'm a missionary with Satellite Gaming, so I stream a lot, pretty much any like new games or things. Right now, it's pretty much either Genshin or Valorant, but I just like to promote a positive, safe community for any gamer. It is Christian, but it's not necessarily spoken out. They'll just find that out once they join the community and things.
All right.
And yeah, I stream a couple times a week, but it's not on a super consistent schedule. So yeah.
Neato freedom. But dudes, thank you so much. And if you have just other questions, they are on my Discord, so you can come and ask them, and they'll just tag them in the Discord, and they'll answer your questions, and that's good. Don't ask me because I can't help you, but they're there.